Pfizer. And in spite of that, he ended up losing his sense of smell, sense of taste. He had fever for 2 week, for a week, etc. So tuloy pa rin po ang problema. Meanwhile, Health Secretary Francisco Duque III says the DICT, the Department of Information Communications Technology, has encoded 3.6 million of the 12 million vaccinated individuals in the country. The real-time database is expected to be completed by the end of July. In other words, naglilista na po ang DICT ng mga nabakunahan, and if there is a lag, the principal problem lies in the submission of reports by local government units plus technical difficulties or snags. And last but not the least, COVID National Task Force Chief Implementer Carlito Charlie Galvez Jr. slams politicians and political groups displaying posters and tarpaulins in vaccination sites. He says no individual or organization can take credit for the national vaccination program because it is a product of a whole of government and whole of society approach. Tama po si Secretary Galvez dyan, and it is nakakahiya, nakakasuka, sorry po for the use of the word. Dapat magalit kayo. All the citizens should really rebuke and be angry at politicians who put up all of their posters, trapals, etc., in front of those vaccination centers. Ngayon, paalala rin naman po sa national government, kasi meron din kayong mga kasamang umeepal. Meaning, they're taking political advantage of the vaccination programs and COVID management by making it appear that things are so great. Yung pala, para lang sa darating na SONA. Please read my column today in the Philippine Star on Cito, where I basically made a recounting of all of that. Now, the quote of the day comes from the book of Isaiah in the Bible, chapter 55, verse 11. So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it. Now, you might be wondering, connected ba yun sa magiging interview mo, Kuya Cito? No, it is a general statement related to, some people are asking, why do you now regularly read from the Bible? Well, why not? And also because we want to encourage a lot of people, and we are hoping that at one point or another, when you hear a Bible verse or a positive quotation or encouraging quotation, that it might uplift you in a daytime hour where you're down in the dumps. Okay? So let's move forward to the interview portion here on Agenda. Our first interview for today is someone I've known since she was in college. Kasi hindi ko naman pwedeng sabihin kabatch ko, baka sapatusin ako nito. We both went through the Institute of Mass Communications in UP. She was a much younger group. And even in college, she was already driven. Sabi nga nung iba, obsessive-compulsive. Sabi nung iba, sobrang sipag. And she was also very particular about her fashion or her looks, etc. And then when she got into media, she was also equally driven. She rose to the top, became one of the country's best broadcast journalists. And then her fame launched her to a different field or a different destiny, which was in public service or politics. She became a senator and a known environmentalist, and siyempre kailangan ko rin pong pasalamatan to kasi nung oras ng kagipitan namin, nung yung nanay ko malubha ang lagay sa National Kidney Institute, she sent help, so much generosity that there was an excess because my mom eventually passed by, that we gave the excess to all the other patients in the ICU. I speak of none other than Senator Lauren Legarda, who is now Congresswoman and ano yata, Deputy Speaker ba? So sorry po. Good morning.
Nako, miss na miss ko na makita, marinig ang napakagaling na batikan na Cito Beltran.
Ay,
Na ang
grabe.
kanya sa mga millennials, hindi nakilala po ang Louis Beltran na father of Cito Beltran. He's an icon or haligi po ng journalism sa Pilipinas, gaya ng aking yumaong lolo, Jose P. Bautista. Of course, my lolo is much older, pero
Manila Times, di ba?
Manila Times, the editor-in-chief of the pre-martial law Manila Times. Hindi ako sure kung si Mang Louie ay naging reporter ni Lolo kasi sila Mang Jun Ikban at sila, ang dami, even sila Kit Tatad were reporters of Lolo Pepe. Pero si Mang Louie was the younger batch nung panahon ni Lolo nung pre-martial law days. At si Cito, alam mo, nasa DNA namin, yung kagalingan ng mga lolo at mga ama. Pasensya na po, ngayon umagang to, konting angat ng, we're just saying the truth. Because really, napakarami na ngayon ng mga namamahayag, may social media, maraming may blog, vlog, all of that, yes. And that's good. That means wider source of information. Pero ang Beltran, ang Louie, at anak na Cito. I'm not pandering. I just miss the voice and the demeanor and the shows of A. Beltran, of Cito Beltran. Kaya salamat. Di ko alam na merong programang ganito. Pasensya na. Ako'y abala masyado sa trabaho dahil sa mga nakaraang 2 taon, Cito, ay kala ko makaka-focus ako lamang sa aking distrito, sa Antique, at napakaganda at napakasarap maging congresswoman kasi yung mga batas ko ng 3 termino ay naa-apply ko. Pero ang tawag sa akin ng staff at maraming tao, pati sa Antique, Senkong. Kasi hindi pa alam ng marami na ako'y congresswoman sa Antique. Siyempre, ang tulong na hinihingi, pang-national pa rin, lalo na sa panahon ngayon ng pandemya. Kaya senator pa rin ang tawag at ang hinihiling na tulong ng tao. Kaya sa nakaraang 2 taon, eksakto na ngayon na ako'y congresswoman, pinaperform ko rin in a big way yung mga pangangailangan ng ibang probinsya, ibang distrito, ng iba't ibang sektor, lalo na sa panahon ng pandemic, ng COVID-19, ang mga pangangailangan. Hindi ko lang pwedeng sabihin, hindi na po ako, Senator, Antique lang po ang aking aabalahin dahil po dun po ako halal ngayon. You know, once you're a public servant, you're a public servant. Maski you are former senator, former congressman, former whatever. When people ask you for help, paano mo sasabihin, tapos na po yun sa 6 na taon, 3 termino, 18 years. Ngayon po, ito na lang 500,000 sa 109 million Filipinos, ha? Diyan muna kayo, pumunta kayo sa incumbent senators. Hindi po ganun ang buhay eh. Talagang pag nakasanayan po nila na ikaw ang tinatakbuhan, pag meron silang mga hinaing, mga angal, or meron silang pangangailangan, o meron silang tanong, hindi nila alam, meron ka ng batas na nagawa nung dati pa na hindi lang pinapatupad ng ayos. So, there's so much to do in so little time. But you haven't even asked your first question, and here am I like introducing myself. But really, I am grateful to you. And I think you should, this is every day, right, Cito?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Aside from this platform, do you have other platforms?
Well, I still have I do have the First Love, which is the column in the Philippine
I know
Star.
that, yes. But your voice, your demeanor, your very casual gait and everything, yes, very good. That's every morning. Perhaps like a, remember Ted Koppel of our time, or a Peter Jennings? You can do that. Like a Ted Koppel, Peter Jennings, a hot seat, one-on-one interviews. You can do that.
Well,
like Mang Louie did.
I think dyan tayo nagkaiba, Senkong, no? Kasi ikaw, you had the discipline, masipag ka, and you were clear about your purpose. Alam mo naman, nung nasa college pa lang ako, college pa lang, ligaw na ako. As in,
Di naman.
laging nang liligaw, hindi nag-aaral.
Yes, yes, yes. Ay, hindi.
But
Sandali
my,
muna.
my
Napansin
first
ko yung
question,
halaman, yung halaman sa likod mo, ang ganda.
yeah,
Anyway.
I'm here in Lipa. I put up a
Beautiful.
sound booth here kasi medyo safe kami dito dahil compound to. Anyway, my
Very good.
first question, no, what was it like being congresswoman? Kasi sabi ko, wow, baka masira ulo nitong si Lauren Legarda na from being national figure, always in the thick of all the issues, being a lead legislator, biglang na local, naging congresswoman. Was it calming? Was it relaxing? Or paano?
Number one, it's calming because I love Antique. Just like I love many other provinces. Nakarating ka na ba sa aking lalawigan? Ito'y isang paraiso where the mountains meet the sea. Parang kakambal ko ang aking probinsya. Alam mo naman tayo, nature lover. At mahal na mahal ko ang karagatan, kabundukan, at may 2 protected areas sa aking probinsya. Na ako rin nag-legislate nung ako'y senador at malay ko naman ako'y magiging congresswoman. Pangalawa, ito'y namomonitor ko yung aking mga batas na ginawa mula 1998 hanggang 2019. At tinutulungan ko rin ang mga sanggunian para magkaroon ng local legislation na mga national na batas na ginawa ko ng 3 termino. Pangatlo, kailangan ng taong bayan ng Antique ang bulig. Suporta, tulong ang tawag sa bulig yan. Kasi 3 dekada silang parang nasa kadiliman at walang pag-aasenso. Para bang nakalimutan na ng national government. Panaka-naka. Tapos, I felt the need for nutrition, for zero opendification, for help in agriculture, for our fisher folks, for our teachers in school buildings, for learning, for micro-enterprises. Ang daming pagkakataon, ang dami naming resources. Nandiyan ang abaka, nandiyan ang baril, buri, nandiyan. Ang dami talaga. We're so rich in food resources. Apaw ang aming kalabasa, apaw ang aming kape, ang dami naming bigas, ang dami naming gulay at prutas. Noong nagsimula ng Marso 2020 ang lockdown sa Metro Manila at sa iba't ibang lugar, ang dami namin apaw na pagkain na hindi namin madala sa Luzon at sa Kabisayaan dahil bawal ang travel, naka-ECQ lahat. So ang ginawa ko ay pagkaon para sa tanan. Yung tinatawag ngayon na community pantry ay ginawa ko, binili ko yung mga hindi madalang harvest mula sa upland barangays. Ito ay dinala namin sa poblasyon ng governor at no cost to government at yun ang amin dinistribute sa mga tao naman sa syudad na hindi makalabas sa kanilang mga bahay. So parang in a way, community pantry, you buy the produce of those locked down in the upper barangays and you give them for free to those in the poblations who have no work also because of the lockdown. So yun yung aming pagkaon para sa tanan na pinapagpatuloy namin tuwing may lockdown. So definitely, in answer, Cito, to your question, sabi mo, naloka ba siya? Ba't ka maluloka sa paraiso? Maluloka ka sa kagandahan, di ba? It's fabulous. It's para siyang Palawan, para siyang Romblon, para siyang Masbate.
I spent 7 years in Palawan building resorts, so I know.
I know. Yes,
So, no,
yes.
the next question would be, why go back to the Senate if you're loving it so much in Antique and in Congress? Because you're still up for 2 terms as Congresswoman.
Yes. Tama ka.
But why go back to the Senate?
Okay, tama ka. I really am enjoying and inspired at sa 2 taon bilang congresswoman ng Antique, mismong ang mga kasimanwa, mga tao, hindi lang ang political leaders na nagsasabi, this is the golden age of Antique. Ngayon, bakit ako babalik ng Senado? Nung nangyari ang pandemic, sinabi ko nga sa kanila, hindi lang po kayo ang aking pinaglilingkuran. Ang dami po sa Metro Manila, lalo na informal settlers, kailangan tulungan magkaroon ng pangabuhian, yan ang aming salita, or pangkabuhayan. Ang dami po, sa iba't iba, as I speak now, ang dami kong mga projects kahapon sa Bacoor, nung isang araw sa Palawan, nung isang araw, ang dami-dami everywhere. And sabi ko, hindi naman pwedeng ipagkait natin sa buong Pilipinas ang mga naidudulot ko sa inyo. Naintindihan nila. In fact, much of the work, the laws, the projects, and the help that I bring to Antique came when I was senator up to 2019 mid-year. So, hindi ibig sabihin na pag ikaw ay senador, kakaligtaan mo na yung iyong maliit na distrito. Hindi po. Kaya lang, lalawakan mo ang inyong bulig, suporta, tulong sa mga ibang probinsya. So nagpaalam po ako bago po ako magdesisyon. Siguro po kung hindi nangyari yung pandemic, kung hindi po hiniling ng iba't ibang probinsya, iba't ibang mga leader sa ibang lugar ang aking tulong, maaring nanatili ako sa Antique, pero yung pandemic po ay talagang nabuksan ang aking kaisipan na yung aking, if I may say, kaalaman tungkol sa kalusugan, kalikasan, at yung koneksyon ng pandemya at ang klima at ang kalikasan ay intertwined, napakahalaga. I think I can lend my knowledge, my experience in the pandemic recovery, that it should be a sustainable recovery, na hindi po tayo kailangan bumalik sa dating kagawian, hindi po tayo babalik sa dating normal, dapat sa better normal na tinatawag. So,
But is that
yes.
at all possible, Senkong? Because when you look at the politics now compared to I mean, yes, when you were in the Senate for so many years, you said 18 years ba yung sabi mo, there were tough times. There were times of crisis. But Filipinos back then were still civil. We still had, we respected human life. We were civil. Kahit na may EDSA revolution, hindi tayo nag-ubusan. Nagkaroon ng EDSA 2, hindi pa rin tayo nag-ubusan. We managed to bring change and pass laws that were good. But do you think that still the situation is still the same given the polarization of politics now, given the violence, the level of violence in this nation?
That is what I want to help influence national discourse once again. We have to elevate national politics, national discourse, as I have in Antique. When I came in, sabi ko, bawal ang droga, bawal ang murahan, bawal ang patayan, bawal ang pananakit. Kailangan, anong kaya nating gawin para maibsan ang kahirapan? I will not tolerate any form of wrongdoing or violence. And that's the same kind of politics I bring back to national. From 1998 to 2019, Cito, I think you've seen it, my kind of politics. Hindi po ako mahilig makipag-away, pero wag naman aapakan ng paa. Marunong naman akong lumaban. Full colonel po tayo sa Armed Forces Reserve. Opo.
That's true. That's true.
Oo. At saka po, number 1 po ako sa eskwela, sa Intel, sa military school. Okay. Pero gagamitin ko lang yung pagkaya. Pero ibig ko lang sabihin po, ang aking pamumulitika ay pamumulitika ng pagtutulong, malawak na kaalaman, at talagang convergence and collaboration. We have to elevate the level of discourse on what will help alleviate our people from poverty. What is it we must do so that we can pay the tripling national debt? What is it we can do to help the more than 4 million unemployed and the more underemployed? Anong ating dapat gawin? Kaya that's where I go to the laws that I will file, the bills. Now that you ask, ba't ka kailangan bumalik ng Senado? Kasi po, I'm one of 300 plus in the House of Representatives. In the Senate, I will be one of 24. And as a, hopefully, God willing, incoming senior senator on my fourth term, I believe and I hope that my voice will be listened to and heard. For example, sa ating
May I
yes,
ask, pasensya ka na, Senkong, no? I just really need to ask this. This is more of a human interest question. What has changed in Lauren Legarda as a public servant and as a legislator, given how you have worked both the Senate and Congress? Kumbaga, it is already a whole picture experience. What has changed in you that makes you even better as a senator?
yung aking pagsasalamuha talagang sa grassroots, sa katutubo, sa mga sa kabundukan nakatira na 7 oras tinatahak ang paglalakad para makarating sa poblasyon. Although alam ko na yan sa aking panahon pa nung ako'y mamamahayag gaya mo at alam ko rin sa aking 3 termino bilang senador. Pero bilang congresswoman ng probinsya na may kabundukan at ang mga tao ay hindi marangya ang pamumuhay dahil nga sa 3 dekada na parang hindi masyadong natulungan ng mga nanunungkulan doon. Pero ngayon 2 taon, ang laki ng tinaas ng antas ng kabuhayan. Kaya ang pagbabago ko sa sarili ko ay, una, mas kalmado ako at mas malawak syempre ang aking kaalaman, mas mahaba ang pasensya at mas tolerant at because of that, more understanding sa mga kapansanan, kakulangan at mga dapat gawin. As I've always said, I've never been as prolific as I am now. Kung sa tingin nyo, ay magaling ako noon o matalino, siguro ngayon higit sa doble dahil siguro talaga ang karanasan ang nagbibigay ng wisdom. At pati na rin ang mga dagok sa buhay at mga hamon ang nagbibigay ng humility. So
I respect that from you saying that, Senkong, because I know you've had your own personal challenges, relational issues, and even disappointments in politics. But
yes.
If you would allow me, like, can we go for a quick break? When we return, medyo speed dating tayo kasi maubusan ako ng oras. But I'd like to ask you all the questions. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Welcome back to Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and with us this morning is none other than Senator Congresswoman Lauren Legarda. Senkong, welcome back.
Welcome back. Yes,
Okay.
we're back here. Ay, kala ko, mahaba yung gap. Okay,
Okay.
CR break.
Okay, no. First of all, okay, so your experience walking at natahak mo yung pangkaraniwang buhay ng mga nasasakupan mo. So it makes you aware, hindi lang puro fundamental laws, legislation, but experience, nakita mo na yung tunay na buhay. Now, as far as going back to the Senate is concerned, quick speed dating nga, sabi ko, pasensya na Senkog, no? But first of all, what party are you joining?
No, I'm not joining any party because I'm already with a party. I'm with the Nationalist People's Coalition.
Okay, NPC.
I
Tito
have
Soto.
been with NPC since 2004 or 7, I'm not sure. Way back, yes.
Okay. So,
I've not, hindi kami lumilipat since
okay.
2007.
Lauren Legarda is known as an environmentalist, known as a champion of indigenous tribes and indigenous wealth or treasures, yung mga hobby, mga fabrics, etc., fashion and lifestyle, and of course for media. But what will be your focal point? Because you mentioned, how do we get out of the trillion peso, national debt? Do we deal with COVID? What will be your primary focus if you get back to the Senate?
Pangkabuhayan, importante kasi ang pandemic recovery, Sito, ay hindi lang pangkalusugan, yan ay masosolusyonan sa bakuna, pag-uusapan ko yan mamaya, pero ang pagbibigay ng pangkabuhayan sa kanayunan. Nung aking unang termino ay gumawa kami ni late Senate President Blas Ople ng isang batas, yung PESO, Public Employment Service Office, at yan ay nakatalaga ng PESO officer sa bawat lokal na pamahalaan. Sa aking amendatory bill ay yung Barangay Employment and Entrepreneurship Office ay aking tinatatag para sa bawat barangay ay imamatch natin yung mga resources, yung mga skills, yung mga opening na job para i-match sa mga taong nangangailangan ng trabaho. Tingin ko pag barangay level ay mas mabilis ang matching ng jobs sa mga nangangailangan at sa mga pwede rin entrepreneurs at self-employment doon. At nasubukan ko na yan sa Antique, we go down to the barangay level para mas mabilis ang pagbigay ng tulong sa kanila. Maliban dyan, syempre, ang ating pag-ahon sa pandemya ay mangyayari lang kung mabakunahan ng mga tao. At kanina nabasa ko, nakita ko sa binabasa mo sa news na yung vaccine rollout online. If I may say, yan ay aking naging suggestion sa isang cabinet meeting some months ago this year, kung saan ako'y naimbitihan sa isang virtual cabinet meeting, at isa sa mga panukala ko sa aking mga suhestyon ay magkaroon ng online, real-time vaccine rollout information para alam ng taong bayan ang mga dumating ng bakuna, kailan pa maro-roll out sa anong bayan, anong distrito, anong probinsya, anong sektor ang nakatoka, A1 hanggang A4, at sino nang bakunahan, sino pang hindi. Sa mga nabasa mo sa Philippine Star kanina ay sinabi ni Sec Duque, and he was in a cabinet meeting, and former Senator Onasan was also there, where I suggested this real-time online bakuna digital platform, parang baga sa Pag-asa weather, makikita mo anytime yung weather, ganun naman sa pagbabakuna. I'm glad that they heeded the suggestion, maybe even improved on it and made it better. I hope that is what I suggested, that is what you read in the press release, in the article of Philippine Star.
Okay, what about media? Because if you picked up on the story this week, our president was included in the list of global leaders who are considered anti-media, and then the Congress that you belong in now is being blamed for the disenfranchisement of ABS-CBN, where you have your roots. And what are your thoughts or set plans as far as media is concerned?
Well, first of all, as you know, my heart, that's my first love. I grew up in media. At 15 years old, 18 years old, I started in media. And I cannot shake it off up to now. Ay meron akong, if I may say, in another station, Dayaw, which is a culture program on ANC. I just had the Rizal documentary on ANC as well. And sometime back, I had another, I forget the title, in GMA News TV, I believe. First about ABS. I came from there, and those were my perhaps happiest years in television. Among those, I've always had happy years in television. And as a form of gratitude as well, and because I believe it is the right, I was one of the authors to renew the franchise of ABS-CBN. So let that be very clear. I authored the bill for the renewal of the franchise. At the end, I had to abstain from the voting because I was advised of my ongoing shows, which are funded by government. I could not vote because it would have been like a conflict of interest. That was the legal opinion of legal luminaries. But I was one of the authors, and I believe the franchise must be refiled, and of course, it must be opened to provide the return of all the jobs that need to be opened as well.
Senator, I've always held the position that this concept of a franchise is in itself a impediment on press freedom or a control mechanism of the state. Wouldn't it be better to just do away with this franchise requirement and just put a regulatory body instead of franchises?
It would be difficult to just say yes or no to something that has been there for a long time, Cito. That suggestion could be looked into, pero hindi ko pwedeng sabihin, oo, tama ka, dapat tanggalin ang lahat ng prangkisa. Nandyan na yan matagal na, tignan natin siguro ang kinagawian sa ibang mga bansang developing nations gaya natin at ano ang dapat gawin na hindi nakakasagabal sa freedom of the press. But
Okay.
I would probably also refile the measures that I did for media. Long ago in the Senate, I had a bill for the protection of journalists. I can't recall the title now. And one is for the economic help for those in need, especially for the contractuals or the casuals. Meron din ako noon. I can't recall the names or the numbers of the bills anymore. Napakarami noon sa Senado. Maari ko rin i-refile yun.
What about the anti-libel? The libel suit. Some people have suggested, I think we're the only last two countries in the world that has criminal libel.
The decriminalization of libel, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I think 1998 pa lang, I filed that na eh. Final ko na po yun, matagal na po. More than 20 years ago. I have to revisit ano nangyari doon. Oo. I think every Congress, fina-file ko yung aking media-related bills. Kailangan kong tignan ng archives ng Senado.
Okay.
I don't think there's time to file in the House of Representatives dahil ilang buwan na lang, but I will try and see yung provisions for the upliftment of media personnel who are not staff with no benefits. Pangalawa, the decriminalization of libel. And third, I even suggested like a fund for journalists na kailangan ng tulong or mga pumanaw. I'm not sure anymore. That was a long time ago, but I have to check the archives of the Senate for my media assistance measures.
You're a broadcaster par excellence, so you know that if I go overtime, I get help from my EP. So my last question is, ito pinapa-request lang nila, kung pwede maitanong yung issue on medical waste. You being an environmentalist at heart.
Okay. Magandang tinanong mo yan. Dahil una, okay, meron ng batas, Republic Act 9003, Ecological Solid Waste Management Law. Sinulat ko yan bilang isang 38-year-old batang senador. Napasa year 2001. 20 years na po. Segregation of waste at source, recycling at composting. Tinalaga po ng aking batas na ang DNR ay maglilista ng mga nationally accepted at hindi accepted na mga dumi. Sigurado ako, nandun sa aking batas ang infectious waste at ang medical waste, bagamat hindi natin na-envision 20 years ago ang pandemya, but it took into consideration the need for the segregation of waste. Look at that. Oh my God, this makes me so angry because under my law, sa barangay at sa bahay pa lang po ay hinihiwalay na ang basura. In short, bote, lata, plastic po, hinihiwalay. Ang food waste po at ibang mga dry leaves o twigs, pwede pong gawing organic compost. Pag kayo po ay plantito at plantita, lahat naman po ay gusto magtanim, pwede pong gawin na organic compost yon. Ang papel po, reuse back and forth, tapos titimbangin, pwede nyo ibenta. Imagine pag nagawa na po nyo yung sinabi kong yun. At yung mga mask po, bagamat ito'y hindi reusable, di ba? Ay alam ko pag sabon lang ay pwedeng laban at pwedeng i-disinfect. But I'm not a scientist, you check. How can our medical waste, whether PPEs or masks, be disinfected before it is discarded? Yon. So,
Okay, well,
nasa po na po yun ng ecological solid waste management law, which perhaps merits another 30 minutes with Cito Beltran next time.
Clearly, you are needed in the Senate because you did the law, you made the law, but the law was obviously not implemented 20 years after the fact. So anyway,
And the laws need to be amended and revised during the pandemic for a post-pandemic recovery that must be attuned to the climate pathway.
okay, Sencong Lauren Legarda, you do not have to worry about us. We will support you. Kamag-anak, kapatid, kapamilya ka namin sa media. So you have our support. But surely there will be a part 2 to this. Depende na lang dahil ikaw yung sobrang busy. Thank you very much for
I'll be
this time.
so happy to join you. You are one of the best, if not the best, interviewer. It's so natural. Iba talaga yung magkaka-generation, although you admit that you're much older than me.
I'm older.
Yes, and you know, during my time after I lost before long ago, I had a TV show on Channel 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
real
did.
story.
Yeah.
Real story. So I had some happy days with your sister network, with your network.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to you one of these days in the very near future. And please, in the meantime, please take care of your health. Be happy, and stay healthy. God bless you.
Durugid nga salamat sa ako mga pinalangga sa Antique nanonood kay Cito Beltran. Thank you, all Philippines. God bless po. Salamat.
Okay. That's Senator Congresswoman Lauren Legarda. And now let's move on to our, pasensya na po kayo mga kaibigan. Ang dami kasi mga issue and perhaps in the near future we will try to really give more time per guest or per issue. But in the meantime, let's speak with Dr. Jean Nisperos, Professor, UP College of Medicine, and Maria Maristela Abenojar, President, Filipino Nurses United, tungkol dito sa suggestion ni Secretary Silvestre Bello na alisin na yung licensure exam. I'll start with Dr. Jean and my apologies to Jean and to Maristela because medyo talagang ganito yung buhay ko sa puro interview. Okay, Jean, Doc Jean, what's your reaction regarding this suggestion or idea of Secretary Bebot on removing licensure exams?
Yes, I think magandang umaga, Cito, and to everyone watching. I think we came to the same conclusion, although we're coming from different frameworks or perspectives. At the end of the day, I think kailangan nating tanungin, while everyone agrees that a level of competence should be expected from our graduates, whether nursing, medicine, or law, the two questions that we need to ask are licensure exams, do they really measure competence at this juncture? The way they're given, the content, and everything. And two, are licensure exams the only way we can measure competence? Kung ang sagot natin sa dalawang tanong na yan ay no, edi kailangan natin sigurong tignan kung siya talaga ba yung nararapat na paraan. Is this are licensure exams really necessary, or are they just another added burden to graduates, considering that they've already taken a slew of exams and the contents don't really measure what they know. Yun.
Let's ask Maristela because this is a good time to figure this out. Maristela, you're with Filipino Nurses United. You're the president of the Filipino Nurses United. Now, ang tanong, no, yung actually sagutin mo nga yung tanong ni Dr. Jean, sapat na ba yung ginagawa sa eskwela? Kailangan pa ba ito?
Good morning, Cito, at sa mga taga-subaybay ng iyong show. Good morning din, Dr. Jean. Well, actually, sa amin po, sa Filipino Nurses United, nung narinig namin si Secretary Bello na sabihin yung kanyang naiisip na recommendation, sa tingin namin, sa ngayon, hindi po siya appropriate. Sa usapin ng, ang nursing po kasi, alam po natin na ang track record nito, no? There were a time nga actually na nag-increase, nag-mushroom yung number ng nursing schools. Napakarami, from 190 naging 490 plus po yan, no? From 2000 to 2010, ganun karami. At makikita natin ang effect nito doon sa quality ng ating mga graduates. Yung nurse licensure examination results for the last 20 years ay umaabot lamang sa average na 43%.
That's right.
No? Masyado po kasing commercialize ang nursing education, no? Itong mga nakaraan. Oo. Kaya po, nakakapag-alala, it's alarming na ito ay nagre-reflect ng poor or low standard quality of nursing education. At may implication ito syempre dun sa kung paano na monitor ng ating government.
Yeah. Maristela, pakisagot mo nga ito, no? And wala akong kinakampihan dito, wala akong agenda dito, no? Pero kasi meron naman tayong mga pinapaaral ng mga bata, no? Babae, lalaki, may mga napaaral at may mga tinulungan din tayo. Meron akong alam na isang bata na 3 times siyang nag-take dito sa probinsya, no? 3 times siyang nag-take ng licensure exam, 3 times siyang bagsak. And then ginawa niya, nagtiyaga na lang siya bilang anong tawag mo ba doon? Yung parang intern o JT o kung ano na, basta namasukan siya. He worked as a nurse's aide sa local hospitals. And he did that for so many years, I think another 3 years, until merong nag-recruit sa kanya. And somehow, I don't know, he qualified and he's now working in the United Kingdom as a nurse in the hospital. Wala siyang license, hindi siya pumasa ng licensure exam. So, and free for all na ito, Doc Jean Maristela, no? Kasi parang, hindi ko nga malaman parang I've always maintained na ang dapat nating bantayan yung eskwelahan.
Yes.
Yes. What's your, please react, Doc Jean.
Well, I think the onus has always been put as far as competence and mataas ng standard na expected sa mga estudyante, sa mga graduates. Pero yung eskwelahan, hindi naman ganun kataas. I agree with Maris. Hi, Maris. Tagal na kayo magkakilala ni Maris. Yung halimbawa nung nag-boom yung nursing schools, pumapayag ang PRC na tumatakbo ang nursing school, nagbibigay ng edukasyon ng ang passing rate ng graduates nila ay 30%. At may time pa na ayaw nilang isara yung mga nursing schools na 0 ang passing rate sa board exams. Tapos yung ganyang sistema, hindi tinitignan yung pananagutan, the accountability of schools, whether it's nursing school, law school, medical school, in providing quality education to their graduates. Ang nangyayari dyan, basta pumasa, okay na. Worse, it lends itself to a lot of levels of corruption. Merong nandadaya, may cheating, merong mga schools na talagang inaalagaan silang graduates nila para mag-top sa board exams. Tapos pag nag-top sa board exams, sasabihin ng school, "Uy, ang galing namin." Because meron kaming graduates na yes, oo. Pero inalagaan talaga nila yun, alaga-alaga. It doesn't really reflect. And even again, doon sa nursing experience natin nung early 2000s to about 2010, nag-spawn din yan ng maraming review centers. Umaasa na lang yung mga graduates na tutugunan ng review center yung hindi na ibigay ng paaralan. And it's unfair to the student. It's really unfair to the graduates.
Very good point, Doc Jean. Maris, matanong ko lang, marami kayong mga kasapi. You have a lot of members who have gone abroad. What is the basis of their acceptance abroad? Is it because may license sila, they are licensed nurses, or meron pa rin silang examination, testing, trial period abroad?
Ang unang-una po ay kailangan registered nurse, meaning licensed dito, pumasa ng board exam sa bansa. Tapos depende po sa destination country. May mga countries po talaga na pagdating nila doon, they have to take another parang training, and at the same time after that training, magkakaroon po ng another licensure examination. At kung saan, halimbawa po, kung UK po yan, kapag naipasa nila yung licensure exam doon, tatawagin na po silang UK RN. So, UK registered nurse. Okay.
Yung requirement to be a registered nurse in the Philippines, sino nag-i-impose nun? Yung employer recruiter o yung Philippine government? Kasi alam ko na merong mga certain requirements similar to that. That is an imposition of the mother country and not the host country.
Well, both po, Cito. Yung dito sa ating bansa, pag mag-a-apply ka na ng trabaho, kailangan may license ka. No? May PRC license ka. Ngayon, kung maglalabas ka naman, pupunta ka sa destination countries, hahanapin din nila sa iyo as a basic document yung lisensya mo
Doc
bago
Jean,
ka nila tanggapin.
Doc Jean, who came up with this idea in the first place? Kasi si Secretary Bello, sinabi lang, ako lang masunod, alisin na lang natin yan. Pero ako ang tanong ko, sino ba naglagay niyan at bakit? Ginaya na naman ba natin yan sa mga kano?
Yes, definitely. Kasi yung batas na pinagbabatayan ng board exams, yung Medical Act na siyang nag-govern ng practice and education ng mga doctors. Matagal na yan eh. I think 1960s pa. I don't know the exact date, pero sobrang tagal na niya. Sobrang outdated niya. Tapos dyan nakasulat yung 12 areas or 12 disciplines or specialties, kung ano man, na kailangang matest. Right. So kaya yung board exams ng medicine, halimbawa yung Physician's Licensure Examination, yan ang sinusunod. Regardless kung ano na yung curriculum mo sa eskwelahan. Yan pa rin yung magiging pamantayan. Can you imagine several decades of developing medical education or professional education, and yet you're using outdated means of measuring. Tapos kahit yung sasabihin nating licensure exams yan, hindi siya standard kasi it's so dependent on the examiners. Kung ano yung tatanong ng examiner, it can be so random, no? It can be so, it's not even the most general. Yes.
Nagbubuo sila ng Board of Examiners, parang sa bar, tapos sila yung magpo-formulate ng exams for that. Para pa lang yung exam sa LTO. Bumagsak yung anak ko bago siya umalis for Holland. Bumagsak siya doon sa exam dito sa Pilipinas, driver's license exam. Kasi nalito siya. Paano raw nagkaroon ng snow sa Pilipinas? Bakit daw may question tungkol sa snow doon sa driver's license exam? Anyway, Maris and Doc Jean, let's go for a quick break. Pagbalik natin, Maris, matanong ko lang, alin bang, kayo ba sa mga nursing community, meron na talaga kayong alam na mga bulok na eskwelahan, at saka alin bang may mga bansa ba na who don't really care about licenses, etc. We'll be right back here on Agenda.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome back to the program Agenda, and let's bring back Dr. Jean Nisperos and Maria Maristela Abenojar, President, Filipino Nurses United. Maris, yung huling question ko, kayo sa nursing community, kasi you're very influential. Pag kayo talagang nagrevolusyon, may nakikinig sumusunod, no? May mga eskwelahan, sabi nga ni Doc Jean, may mga eskwelahan na bulok. ang passing rate 30% lang. Kayo ba sa community may mga sinumbong na ba kayo sa PRC, sa DOH, etc.?
Ito, totoo po yan na meron talagang, nabanggit ko na nga po nung una, na parang naging kabuti, parang nag-mushroom po yung bilang ng nursing schools. Mula po sa 100 mahigit, naging less than 500, 491 po yata yung time ng 2009, no, na nursing schools. At ito yung mga commercialized. Pero nung 2010 po, ang CHED po, sa tulong po ng PRC at Board of Nursing, ay nagdeklara ng isang parang moratorium. Ipinasara po nila ang 218 na nursing schools na sa tingin nila ay talagang hindi nagpe-perform, no? Doon po sa nurse licensure examination at ganun din doon sa pag-examine nila ng kanilang mga curriculum at yung kanilang pagpapatakbo ng mga nursing schools. Kaya totoo po yan, meron po talagang mga nursing schools na hindi po karapat-dapat nag-open ng nursing program kasi wala pong silang maayos na edukasyon na ipo-provide. Ano po.
In terms of... go ahead.
Pero sa tingin po namin na tama rin po na ang sinasabi kanina doon sa ating takbo ng discussion na ang nurse licensure examination at ang iba pang board examination is not the only barometer para po i-measure yung talagang quality nursing education, halimbawa, no. Totoo naman po 'yan kasi meron din pong ibang factors. Ang Filipino Nurses United po, ang tinututulan lang po talaga namin dito ay yung totally mawalan ng isang standard mechanism kung saan po ating titiyakin na ang ating mga graduates ay may kapasidad na mag-perform. Kasi nga po, ang hinahawakan ng mga health professionals tulad ng nurses ay buhay. No? Hindi pwedeng magkamali. No? We have to be always exact in what we do.
Okay, Marisa, quickly na lang, no, dahil last 2 minutes tayo, pasensya na, no? Haba ng usapan. Yung mga nag-a-abroad, may mga bansa ba na walang pake dyan sa mga licensure na yan? Basta parang, hello, wala na nga kami makakuwang nurse, magkukulitan pa tayo sa dokumento. Are there countries who don't really require the registered nurse ranking?
As far as we know po ay wala pa. Ang hindi nila binibigyan ngayon ng kumbaga consideration ay yung years of experience. Kaya halimbawa po, basta graduate ka, halimbawa po sa UK, sa Germany, pwede na po na kahit wala ka pa pong years of experience, basta may PRC license ka. Yun po yung kanilang hinahabol.
Okay, now Doc Jean, how do we go about this idea of making nursing schools or law schools, etc. Kasi tama kayong dalawa, and tama rin yung mga points even of Secretary Bello na itong mga licensure exams na ito parang naging rating na lang sa basketball, sa karera o kung saan na yung nasa taas, yun ang pinakamalalaki ang sweldo. They go to the big hospitals, big law firms. Parang ginawa tayong basihan on employment and compensation. But how do we make the schools and who in government should be responsible? Kasi parang magaling sa pagsasara, pero walang magaling sa pagbabantay.
Well, I personally think that we have to start with the education aspect. Hindi pwedeng, I agree with Maris na hindi naman basta-basta tatanggalin mo yung licensure exams, but we really need to start reforming, reforming, and if necessary, overhauling our educational system, whether it's medical education, law education, nursing education. We really need to focus on that. And by focusing on reforming education, sila yung magbubunsod kung paano i-measure, anong metrics yung babantayan mo, how do you measure competence, and make sure that these people who graduate from the schools actually have the basic competence that is necessary to provide the services expected by the people. Now, who will undertake that? Lahat naman ng profesyon, mayroong board, board of nursing, board of medicine. So magsisimula dyan. May organisasyon din ng mga dikaano, ng mga eskwelahan. At dapat pero ang mahalaga talaga, what is really essential at this juncture is that this be put on the table. dapat tignan natin paano na ba yung ano bang kailangan reforms sa mga eskwelahan natin to
Okay.
make sure that what we're doing, what we're teaching is also measured properly.
Okay,
Baliktad eh. Hindi siya magka-connect eh.
Palagay ko,
Iba yung ginagawa sa school, iba yung exam eh, di ba? Parang hiwalay siya. So there's a mismatch, there's a disconnect, and all of those are burdens on the students and the graduates. And then
okay.
that's really
Palagay ko, gagawin natin, Doc Jean, Maris, re-reformat na namin ng agenda. Gagawin namin one topic per day na lang para maupag-usapan lang. Kasi
Haba.
hindi
Haba.
pwede itong maraming pinag-uusapan. But thank you very much for your time, Doc Jean Nisperos and Maris Abenojar ng Filipino Nurses United. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you
Good morning.
also.
Okay,
Good morning.
and that's it for Agenda Today. Please keep it here on Cignal Channels 8 and 250, and we are One News.